I want to go back a little bit when you were 23 years old, because that's when you landed the role for the first time, right? Is that when you audition and find out that you got the role of the Flash?
Yes, I know I was 23 when I got it. I can't remember. I mean, it was a long process, but yeah, I was roughly 23.
So what was that audition situation like? Do you remember when they said, okay, you got it? And do you remember what you did the rest of the day? Because that always fascinates me when you find out that you got like a humongous gig.
Yeah, no, I remember where I was. I mean, it was a long process, and it was for Arrow at the time. It was to
Yeah.
appear as Barry Allen on Arrow, 2 episodes, and then we were going to do a backdoor pilot was the original plan. And yeah, I mean, I went in, saw David Rappaport, the casting director, who also had cast me on that 90210 show, and I'd seen for other things in the past. And I didn't want to go because I was like, the character was described as late 20s to early 30s, and I was 23 and looked 19, and thin and brown hair, very different than what the character is in the comics, and very discouraged and beat myself up. Didn't think I was right for it. Didn't think I would get it. Thought it would be a waste of time for them, for me, and I went to the first audition, and Rappaport right away was like very supportive and like behind me and thought I was good for it, which surprised me. And then my first callback, David Nutter was there, who is like the pilot king. I don't know if you know that name, but I think
he went to the University of Miami, my alma mater.
Okay, so you know what his numbers are. I think it's something like he's done 20 pilots and 19 of them have been picked up. It's probably more than that now.
Dude's a legend.
Yeah, like nobody else can do what he does, and he's done like Game of Thrones and all kinds of stuff. And so anyway, he was in there, and then he called me after that audition and was like, "You're gonna get this. I want you to get this." And at that point, I was gonna have to, work with the studio and the network and do all the testing process and everything. But to have him in my corner, I think just gave me all the confidence in the world. And I think I owe like getting it to David Nutter and David Rappaport as well. But they gave me all the confidence, and there was at least a week in between those first 2 auditions, and then another week before testing. And actually, I did a chemistry test at one point at WB with Emily Bett-Rickards, who was on Arrow at the time. And then I had a studio and network test, and I was, which are the most nerve-wracking things in the world, to be in front of all the execs and to do it. And I mean, I think it was all in a 6-week process. And then when it was all said and done, it was like a Thursday, and they told me like, we won't hear anything till the beginning of next week. This is like,
they love dragging it out.
Yeah, this is like my manager and my agents. They're like, Monday, we'll probably know by Monday. So Friday, I went to Malibu with a friend, which is like, I'd never even been to Malibu at the time, but I was like, I just need to look at the water and like, do something else, get out of my head. And we were at the beach, just me and this one buddy, and I got a call from my manager that Friday, and I didn't think it was anything because it was the day after. It was September 13th, which was a Friday the 13th, so I'll never forget it. And it's now my lucky day, Friday the 13th. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I knew right away just from my manager doesn't really hide things like that very well. I was like, hey. He's like, so I've got the agents. They're going to hop on really quick. All right. We're going to loop everybody in. And like, I immediately like stood up and walked away from my buddy and started pacing. And, they told me the good news. I got off the phone and I just like jumped in the ocean. And it was like the craziest, most euphoric moment of my life.
Well, clearly you did something good during the audition and the chemistry test and all that stuff. But I heard that you're not a good auditioner. You don't think you're a very good auditioner, or you have a lot of anxiety when it comes to that?
Yeah, audition anxiety for sure. I mean, I've had bad auditions just like everybody else, and I've had good auditions. I also don't think I've ever done like my best work in an audition, sadly. I think probably all my best work that I can really remember, other than like a few exceptions, like on set, we're like in acting classes, and like no one will ever see those moments where you feel the most freedom, and yeah, so like anxiety can definitely get in my way, and I, as you heard, like tend to doubt myself a lot, so I think that gets in the way. And yeah, I mean, I've definitely had some bad auditions.
I feel like there's nothing normal about auditions. I was never a good auditioner. I felt like I auditioned for E 16 years ago, same situation, didn't hear back for a long time, finally got the gig. But leading up to that, there were so many bad auditions. So in the meantime, I decided to go into casting and became like a casting assistant just so I could sit in the room
Yeah. Yeah.
and watch the process and watch it unfold. And one of the coolest things, and I know probably a lot of people following you want to get into the acting business, so maybe this can help. But when you walk in that room, the casting director or the casting associate, they want you to do well because
No,
their job
yeah.
is over after that and they can move on to the next project. So
Yeah.
they're not sitting there judging you the whole time like, oh, this person's going to suck. They want you to crush that audition so they can find the perfect person for that role
Yeah,
and move
it's
on to
true.
the other. And that helped me so much.
Yeah, one thing I saw years ago that I'm gonna butcher how he said it, but I saw something Bryan Cranston said, and it helped me since then, was that like you can only bring to the character what you can bring to the character. So stop thinking about like what they want you to do or how somebody else might do it, but just think about how it resonates with you, what it means to you, and you're the only person that can bring that to the character. So just focus on that and don't worry about anything else. And that I think helped me more than anything, just seeing that quote that he had. And I haven't, other than like self tapes, I haven't, other than like one audition in the past like 3 years, I haven't been in the room much since I booked Flash almost 7 years ago.
Isn't that nice?
It's nice, but I'm also going to be like back to like being horrible at it once I have to start auditioning again when Flash is over. So I'm going to need some practice.